Hello, my name's Robert Dean Steele, and this is your daily Bible class. Listen to what it says here in Revelation chapter 1, verses 19 and 20. We've been looking at the book of Revelation. He says, "Write therefore what you have seen and what is now will take place later. The mysteries of the 7 stars that you saw in my right hand and the 7 golden lampstands is this. The 7 stars are the angels, and the 7 churches, and the 7 lampstands are the 7 churches." So what he's saying here today is this. He says, John, I've called you to write down what you have seen and what you have experienced. Write it to the churches, to the different churches. And of course, we learned yesterday what those different churches were. Ephesus right through to Laodicea, which also, by the way, according to scholars, when you look at the 7 churches, and we will start the 7 churches tomorrow and be looking at each one of the churches, each one represents not only a particular location and a particular quality of the church in that area, but also as well the church age. And so we'll talk a little bit about that as well tomorrow. He says, write down so that they can look at this later, because these things are going to happen. He says these things will happen later. They're not all going to happen right now, John, but they are going to happen. And the one thing that we know about God is this: whatever he says is going to happen. And you and I need to realize that God's word is true. In fact, he says, I put my word above my name. Now, that's very, very interesting. That means when God says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. So these events that are being recorded in the book of Revelation are going to happen because God has ordained them to happen. Then he says, the mystery of the 7 stars that you saw in my right hand, because when John saw Jesus, he saw Jesus standing in the middle of 7 golden lampstands, and he was holding in his hand the 7 stars in his right hand. Now, it was interesting that last night my friend Gary Rowbottom was talking about what the 7 stars actually represented. Now, the 7 stars in the ancient world had to do with the North Star, or what we would call the constellation of Pleiades. And this was a sign of stability and direction and strength in the ancient world. And Jesus is holding these 7 stars in his right hand. And he's saying, I have everything under control. I'm stable. You can trust me. And you also know that I have a vision for you. And it says this: the 7 stars are the 7 angels of the 7 churches. Now, this has 3 connotations. Number 1, it could actually be angels that have been assigned to those churches. Now, we do know that there are angels assigned to certain situations. For example, ancient Israel had an angel assigned to them while they were in the wilderness, and I believe that that angel is still, of course, assigned to them as well. So that could be that. Secondly, it could be pastors, actual physical pastors. He says these writings are going to be given to these pastors, and the responsibility of these pastors is to pass them on to you so that you will understand. Maybe these pastors were even given the responsibility of reading these particular prophecies out to the church. Or it also could be the bishops or the leadership of that church. Those are the kind of thoughts that have come out from scholars. And then he goes on to say, and the 7 lampstands are the 7 churches. These 7 churches are designed to give light and illumination into those cities. Think about this for a moment. The church that you pastor, the church that you're involved in, if you're a pastor or if you're just a congregant or someone who goes to church, is given there for a responsibility of light, of restraint, of being an example for the Lord in that situation and in that city. You are representing Jesus Christ in your area, in your city, in your town, in your village. It might be a hamlet, it might be a settlement, it might be just a place in the middle of nowhere where God has placed your church. There are many. wonderful country churches that minister to a rural area. Wherever you are, God has called you to be a lamp, to be a light in that place, to be his hospital, to be the place where people can come and be healed and transformed. That is your responsibility. And John says there's a message for you today. Things are going to happen. Read the book of Revelation and you'll discover what God's plan is for the future. My name is Robert Dean Steele. This is your daily Bible class. You have yourself a great and godly day.